Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cybersecurity Crowd podcast. I'm Susan Gosselin with Integris Marketing, and I am here today with some of our top vCISOs, our virtual chief information security officers, as well as Tony Miller, our CIO at Integris. And we have pulled out all the big guns today to talk to you because we are talking about one of the hottest topics right now, AI, and what that means to your business. There are a lot of things that AI can do for your company, and everyone's talking about it. And there's all these AI tools that are flooding the market right now. Everybody is talking about how, according to the World Economic Forum, that you could have a change of at least 28, 29% of all jobs are going to be eliminated or changed by AI. There's a lot of big claims that are being made. But in short, what you're seeing with AI right now are basically these four things. You're automating all kinds of drudgery work. So assembling reports, doing PowerPoints, and that kind of thing. You're writing content for your businesses, letters, summaries, thought leadership pieces, that kind of thing. Is creating art from scratch, novels, photos, videos, you name it. You can also take written pieces and turn those into fully done videos with moving text and summaries. And they can also provide an analysis for what on the web. So AI is basically the actual Jeeves of Ask Jeeves. Remember all of us old heads out there that remember the birth of the internet and the Ask Jeeves? That was like an internet butler that was providing you with results. Now AI really is like an internet butler that is providing you with not only the information, but an analysis of the information. And that part is new. So as you can see, there's lots of implications for this for business and lots of different tools that are being made available for business. So let's drill down, shall we? All right. So guys, I'm going to plop out the first question here for y'all and ask you, what in your mind is the implication of using cyber security and also having AI at your business? Does AI automatically thwart your cybersecurity? And so what do you think AI is capturing in its systems, and what is that going to mean to you? So, Darrin, let's start with you on that one.
In terms of AI being used in the workplace or in systems, it depends on the use case more than anything else. So first and foremost, you have to take a look at the use case. If AI is being used in conjunction with a detective, control, that's a very good thing because it can speed, up your mean time to remediation. So that's a very good thing. If somebody in sales is using, maybe it becomes a little more dubious. So I think that
Yeah.
we have to have some, we really have to have some very real controls around based on the individual use case.
So, Nick, how scared should a company be about the information that AI is collecting when your employees are interacting with it?
I don't think that scared is the right word. I think careful, I think cautious would be good words to describe it. It really is about figuring out how to safely control the use so that you're enabling your employees to work smarter, not harder, but not give away information that is needed in order to function.
Yeah, that gets me to thinking about a use case that was coming up just the other day. So I think, particularly if you are tasked with doing any kind of writing for your company, the temptation to use ChatGPT or similar tools is overwhelming. Let's just say you're the director of sales, and it's time for you to give a report to the C-suite about how things are going right now and how things are going right now for the company versus the competition. And they need to put together a PowerPoint and an executive summary. And you've got half an hour to do it, and you're under the gun and you're not feeling it. And it would just be so easy to take that data, load it in to ChatGPT, and have them spit out your PowerPoint bullet points and your executive summary, and for you to cut and paste and have it all be done. But the problem is, where is that data going? We don't know. And until you let your employees know that is dangerous and that they can't do that, there could be that kind of thing happening all over the company, and you would have no way of knowing whether your data is secured at all. So, Nick, how scared should a company be when it comes to the idea of their employees just hopping on ChatGPT and other AI enabled tools to do their daily work? What should a company's response be to all that?
I don't think that they should be scared, but they should definitely be concerned and cautious and focus on controlling it in a way that allows employees to successfully work smarter, not harder, and still not give away any important proprietary information.
Tony, I'm going to bounce this to you because in your position as CIO at Integris, I know you're thinking hard about what tools can you use and not use? What safeguards do we have and not have? What have you been finding in some of your research?
Well, Nick's right. It's a fantastic tool, and we're a technology company. You can't say don't use technology. That's not how we work. That's not how we think, but it has to be used in the right way. So I'm also with Nick. Scared's not the right word. Intentional. I think companies need to be intentional about how they use it. And there's solutions, right? And Microsoft's coming up with Copilot, and that's going to become available to people. And that is going to be a service you pay for, right? It's something we have access to, and our data lives in a walled garden of sorts that, just like the rest of our SaaS applications, it becomes the next SaaS application that we're able to use. And we can have some more confidence in it. I'm not going to say all the confidence, but more than we have today. That'll help. When we talk about things like ChatGPT or other available large language models that exist, a lot of your examples, Susan, were around content creation, whether that be pictures or text, your sales manager example. We want to be able to use those without giving away all the stuff. And if we write our own policies and we are intentional about how we use it and we control where that data goes, we're good. In those other models, they're free right now. I know there's like a paid for version of ChatGPT,
Mhm.
but you guys have all heard the concept that if you're not paying for it, you are the prop. And that's not something I made up, but that is
Right.
what it is today. All the users of ChatGPT and other large language models today are training them off. That is what we're doing. And that's fine. I support what the creators of the products, AI, is doing. But at the end of the day, if we're just giving it to them and they're just giving it to us, we're the product, which means we got to be careful. It's data collection. It truly is data collection. As soon as Facebook enables all the content that everybody has been pumping into it for the last 18 years or whatever it's been, they just provided all the language modeling Facebook would ever need. It's going to come back with some really weird cat themed information, but that's what they've done because they've been giving all that data to Facebook because nobody pays for Facebook. Therefore, they're the product. It's because we gave them all the content. So we have to think about it that way. And as a company, as a CIO, I have to be concerned about it, as you said, but that just means being intentional.
And certainly having written policies. It's almost having a written bring your own device policy or whatever. It becomes part of your company training. And you have to say to people, look, you can't just go out there loading company data and information into unsecured tools. Here, use this one if we have this one for you. And if you're not to that point yet, then you just need to tell people you can't be putting anything that is an internal only information into a tool like that, right? Now, I'm going to take a moment to get on my soapbox as a content generator and marketer. That's what I do here at Integris. And I got something to say when it comes to the proper use of AI. I've been doing a ton of research around this, but there are some really intense issues of copyright going on when it comes to AI. So, for instance, there's a lot of creators out there that are creating novels and pictures and illustrations. And you've got people, for instance, that are uploading their stock photography to services like Shutterstock and Adobe Stock and all of that, right? And now you are able to create photos from scratch using some of these other stock photography tools. Canva, a lot of them are all, you can just type in a prompt and it will digitally create a picture for you, which will include bits and pieces of pictures that are part of their stock photography library. Now, a lot of these services are starting to get good and be smart about it. And they are offering, every time the AI trains upon a particular image or particular piece of art or something like that, they are working out ways to do micropayments to those creators. But not all of them are yet. Midjourney is a really big example of that, right? There's been a lot of brouhaha. You've got a lot of novelists out there that are creating these incredibly beautiful illustrated book covers, but they're doing it trained on art that doesn't belong to them. So even though it is a completely new piece of art, they had to base it on something. So if you do not do any research on the copyright implications of what you are doing with your AI, you could be in a world of hurting. The same thing goes with the taking what AI provides to you information wise as an example, as gospel. You need, when you put in a prompt into AI, you need to ask it to show you its sources so you can go back and look to see where that information came from. I'll give you because it hallucinates. They talk about AI hallucinations all the time. And I'll give you an example. I was doing a presentation for the rest of the marketing department on artificial intelligence and what we should be looking into and what we shouldn't. And I asked it to provide me with the list of services, and they gave me a list of AI services and didn't include Midjourney. And I said, why isn't Midjourney on this list? And they said, it's a fictional company. It is not. It is not. It is real. But it is sitting there telling me it's fictional. You've got to be like hyper aware of those kinds of things too. It's not like doing a Google search where you immediately see where it came from. It is interpreting that information for you. So that is my public service announcement today. I had to get that off of my chest. What do you all think? I'm going to pass this around. Does anyone have anything that they would like to weigh in on about copyright and exposure for the company and all of that?
Related to our company, obviously content needs to be careful, right? As we're making stuff, our website can't be written by other copyrighted information. So we must be careful. We have to worry about the implications to that. You used Google as a reference, like it's different. Like having Google means I see what the sources are. But as a user of Google forever, you also know that sometimes the answer that even in the top 2 searches isn't correct, assuming it's content you understand. An example, I'm not a camera guy. I don't know about lenses and focal lengths. I know these words. I don't know what they mean. If I were to go ask ChatGPT a bunch of stuff about which lens should I buy for my camera, it would give me an answer and I would say, oh, okay, I'll just go buy that lens. but I don't know the difference. However, if I go ask it some information about networking, servers, systems, this is my world, chances are I'm going to find things as you did with that company. So at the end of the day, this means it's a tool, it's a reference tool, just like we used encyclopedias back in the day, and now we use Google or Wikipedia. This is an iterative tool at this stage. It is an iterative tool that we can use, but just like I have to worry about where Google got its data, and even the blogger that I'm reading got his or her data, I also still have to be concerned about where ChatGPT got its data and if it is even correct. If some blogger wrote about a bad camera lens, ChatGPT used that as its source content, and I don't know the difference, I'm now acting off of bad data. Just like if I read a blog that said use this camera lens and I don't know what I'm doing, I'm going to still buy the wrong lens. So it's a tool. It's a great tool. It's really neat and interesting at this phase, but it's not the answer. The intelligence part there isn't exactly what we think of when we start thinking about AI. This is a large language model. Like that needs to be clarified over and over again. And so it has value. The intelligence piece isn't quite there yet. And it requires the humans, us, the users of these services, to continue to use our human brains.
I've got a kind of a funny story about that. My youngest son has just graduated from culinary school, and I was talking to him about ChatGPT, and he went, "Wait, you mean you can ask it questions and it'll tell you stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, just go on. There's a free version, give it a try." So he decided he wanted to make a lemon cheesecake for a friend. And he typed in lemon cheesecake. And then he decided he wanted to do like a fancy garnish that included like a glassy sugar kind of thing. Now he knew in his head he could probably do it from just off the top of his head. But he's, let me see what this is. And I'm going to try making this cheesecake. So he made the cheesecake and it was pretty good, but he was looking at the sugar garnish and it was telling him to put in 3 times the amount of baking soda than you should. And he was like, if I put this in here, this thing is going to boil over and turn into a hardtack ball on the top of this stove. So he typed in, "Hey, ChatGPT, are you sure about that?" into the prompt. And they went back and took it a second and they went, "Oh, my bad. That's wrong. It's supposed to be this actual amount." But he's a chef and he knew what he was seeing. If you're just Susie homemaker like me, like trying to make a cheesecake, you could have a problem. So that has real implications for company at this point, that the information that their employees are pulling in, if you're using that for anything serious, you've just got to pound it into people's head that they have to check, recheck, and check anything that they're pulling from these things. But enough about that. So we know that AI hallucinates and does some crazy things, but what I'm wondering is how the use of AI needs to affect your policy setting and documentation as a company. What if you're a company and you're looking at buying into this new service from Microsoft, or I know Azure has got some new walled garden tools they're talking about. There's a lot of things. Now Amazon has got, God, what's the name of that thing? I can never remember it. But there's several different walled gardens that are starting to come up. So if you're a company and you're seriously looking at using these tools and rolling them out system wide to your company, what are some of the implications? What are some of the things that you need to be looking for before you do it, pull the trigger on it? And how is that going to impact your policies and documentation? Tony, you want to go first on that?
It simply has to be done, much like you use the work from home or bring your own device type policies. Policies must be written. We just had ours written, and you have to have the policies, the procedures to what to do, what not to do, written down, trained, and held accountable to that. That that is the reality of today's world. If anybody has any compliance requirements, and even if they don't, they should have these policies written. You don't have to have policies or compliance policy requirements to write a bring your own device. You should write a bring your own device policy. And the same is true now with this, what is basically a new technology to the world. Companies have to, again, be intentional, sit down, think it through, write it down, train, and execute on it.
What are you thinking about this, Darrin?
So completely agree with Tony. And essentially, what I've been advising clients to do is, first of all, you have to address the policy. By that, I've really been telling people, begin by saying no, just to slow it down, create some space, right? Say no, get a focus group together, determine internally what that use case, right? What does that look like? Who should be authorized? And then you can move forward with explicit authorizations to use it, which can be wrapped up in, again, further in policy and procedure.
What say you, Nick?
Like what Tony and Darren are saying, but I think I've probably been a little bit more aggressive because as we're having conversations, we're already finding that employees are using it. And they get two options. We either add to a current policy or we create an artificial intelligence use policy. And one of the first things that we discuss is we're not going to stop the employee right now from utilizing it for some things that they're doing. What we are going to do, though, is prohibit and completely stop any submission of proprietary, private, confidential type information into an open source artificial intelligent unit. The policies usually add on that say, hey, in the event that we own or lease our own, then employees are allowed to submit information. And that's been a major focus to try to push some of these organizations along a path where they are doing what Darren's saying. No, but this is no, don't just use the open source thing. Be smart about this. We are trying to develop, grow, and be stable as organizations. You can't just throw all this data into something that we don't control.
Tony, here's one of the questions that I've got because I have only been looking at it from a top line point of view. Do we know in these walled gardens, like, how is that information stored and how is it backed up into the cloud? How does that, if the company goes down, is that part of a disaster recovery effort? Do we even know at this point?
I don't have all the answers. Before we would implement something like that, obviously, that has to be part of the vetting process of any service you get, whether it's an email service or an AI service. You have to be vetting the where is my data, both physically and virtually, and then deciding on what your acceptable risk is there. Yes, if at some point AI becomes a significant part of our workflow, which if you watch the news, they'll tell you it's going to be, then now it does indeed has to be part of our continuity planning. If we count on it, then it has to be. Today, that's probably not the case. We don't even have our own walled garden AI to work with. But if that day comes, when it comes, yes, I will have to make decisions on whether that's part of our disaster recovery. That data is most likely all going to live in the cloud of some sort. These services are necessarily a cloud service. They're a software application as a service type thing because very few companies are going to spin up the amount of power it would take to do this work. It would be very cost prohibitive. And so it's going to be in the cloud. People are going to be spinning them up on their own, but that'll become a concern, maybe the near future, maybe the near distant future. I don't know. It is still unfolding. This is new and it's hot and I'm glad we're talking about it, but it's also, there are a lot of unknowns today still.
There is I think a lot of it, just getting back to what we were saying before, has to do with the nature of what it is being used for. So if you are using ChatGPT to write yourself a cover letter for a resume or a farewell letter when you're leaving a job or that kind of thing, that's fine. A lot of the work that we do in marketing, it wouldn't matter if we were using an AI blog to video generator or anything like that, because everything that we are producing for the public, there's no, it's going to be out there anyway. The final piece is the final record. The only thing that we have to worry about are accuracy and copyright. But, when you're someone who's a salesperson that is putting together a big sales presentation for a key prospect that's going to have some proprietary information. If you're like one of our people that is putting together the results of a IT assessment that we do for a customer, think about how sensitive that system information is. So there's just a lot to consider and educate people on, right? So I'm gonna punt this question out to the whole group here. What are the dangers with AI that y'all think we haven't thought of yet? And is there any way to lay the groundwork to prepare for those now? Nick, you got any thoughts on that?
Loss of intellectual property, issues with using it to build out new encryption methods that aren't necessarily approved, using it in many malicious ways. And we're seeing this on the news already, right? These attacks are happening, but as you keep going, the use of this is the sky is the limit. Okay. And it's not perfect. It's not 100%, but the sky truly is the limit. And so you can use this to pretty much eliminate some software development when it comes to, hey, I want to do something malicious. You know what? I'm just going to have this write it for me. I don't have to write this. If you're doing penetration testing, for example, you're doing it. Usually you have an ethical hacker attacking an organization because they need to have that. Now, though, and remember, those people, they put time in, right? They're building out scripts. They're really thinking it through. You don't have to do that. This becomes a really, really nice, easy button to push. And that's just an example. There's so many different things to worry about with it.
Yeah. And what do you say about that, Darren?
We definitely, we don't know as much as we need to. So many questions. The primary concern really is the unintended consequences, right? you can reach out, you could try to project, and you could try to determine what those are going to be. But obviously, we have human limitations. But that's why I really urge caution and just be very careful, because even in the best circumstances, we as humans have a tendency to miss something. So I'm just being very careful about
Yeah. What say you, Tony?
Nick's ideas about the use for somebody doing penetration testing made me think of, we used to have the script kiddie concept where just some person on the internet go download some script to mess with their friend or maybe actually do something significantly malicious. In this world, I don't even have to go searching for that script. I don't have to find it on some dark corner of the internet. I just ask the AI for it and I have it. And now I'm going after somebody again. Maybe it's benign and I'm messing with my friend Nick, or maybe it's significant and I am being malicious towards another company or organization. The barrier to entry for attacks just became extremely low. I don't have to be an advanced programmer with advanced knowledge of vulnerabilities to now take advantage of those vulnerabilities. Just ask the AI to do it for me. And now I'm executing on that. And of course, the bad guys are going to have to be held accountable for that, but that's going to become very difficult. And we're going to have a lot more bad guys because no barrier to entry.
And to further I guess my role as the AI curmudgeon on the call, in fairness, the bad guys and girls out there have always had the benefit of time to begin with. They've always had the benefit of time. So it's just increased that. It's just made it, that much more powerful. I'm going to go back to my corner now.
It's okay. You're allowed to speak, Darrin. We'll let you. We'll let you.
Can I add to Darren's because I think it's a solid point about where AI is today. Because of the internet, we can do so many things so fast, so convenient. This call, we're in 4 states, I'm guessing, and we're able to have this kind of conversation. 25 years ago, 10 years ago, we'd have to be in person. It made things easy for us. It didn't give us a thing we couldn't do. We could do this. We could fly in person. We could sit down and have 4 cameras and we could make a really great video about any topic. But the new technologies made this very easy for us. And I think that's some of your point, Darrin, it's made this easy for people. This is just a new tool that makes your existing tasks much easier. And you can look at that from the cybersecurity point, and that's bad for us. We don't like that. But you can also look at it from the productivity side. We're going to love this, and people are going to be able to further their careers, have new careers, do all sorts of things, execute on a whole lot more tasks. It's great. And these are the things we're weighing, and why I think Darren's take of caution, because there's two sides of this coin, caution, intentionality, like these are all important.
So let's summarize all this now. I'm hearing a lot of really erudite points, as usual, from you gentlemen about what you need to be starting to think about. So, what I'm hearing is that if you're going to implement it, you need to have a steering committee that looks at every part of it. You need to have policies that are centered and training employees about what they can and can't do with it. And then you've got to have a plan if you are going to be using it in any extensive kind of way with proprietary materials, the walled garden, getting back to what Tony was saying. Are there any other pieces of advice that you can give everybody listening today about just some of these introductory things we need to do to introduce our companies to AI?
With precious little data, historical data to look at, it's extremely difficult to assess.
Yeah. Tony, Nick, you got anything on this?
I think that if you strategize and you proceed with caution, everybody needs to experiment a little bit to move forward. And so if you can test out the lab rats without actually getting bitten by the radioactive lab rats, that would probably be best. So yeah.
And I think companies should be testing, like Nick said. And if we take Darren's cautious approach, they need to be extremely careful about what information they're testing with. Your son's example of a cheesecake, great. That's fun. That's exciting. It's neat to play with the new technology. This is how we learn how to use a tool. And now we can, in the future, as we're cautious, intentional, and learning, we can then apply our policies to our workflows in a way that is correct. And then we can start to use real data, like data that is sensitive and might be client data, might be our own personal data. We can then start to implement things like that. So let's keep playing with the cheesecake recipes for now, and we'll get there. Like I said, this is evolving, and we're gonna get there. It's gonna be fast. This isn't gonna be a slow process, I don't believe. But start learning with safe things.
Yep. I would just say, particularly when it comes to coding, it sounds to me like there probably needs to be some kind of moratorium on using AI to write your code in general. Like you've got an IT department that's busy that needs to run a new script for this or that. It could be really tempting to use AI. Is that something that you guys would prohibit?
It's a specific type of camera lens. Tony, you'll have to look that up using ChatGPT. But the short version is we want people that are in a support system where they are trying to help out organizations. We want them to actually provide safe, functional answers to the issues going on. And so if you're going to input or use something, do not input specific information. Use general requests. And that's okay. By the way, you can still get a lot of information by putting in a general request that helps you along to what you need to do. If you start implementing specific requests in that have to do with said client, you're actually giving away that organization's information, and that's not what you're supposed to be doing.
Nope. Sounds good to me. All right, gentlemen, has anybody got any other advice before I close this episode up? Anybody got anything else?
I just want to get some cheesecake.
I know. I'm like, go to Cheesecake Factory, all right? Don't ask ChatGPT to write your cheesecake recipes. That's my advice to y'all today, my pearls of wisdom. Okay. With that, I am going to close out this episode of the Cybersecurity Crowd. Join us next month. We're going to be talking about all things breaking and things not breaking and things you need to know about cybersecurity. Come and see us.